So you've got a hankering for a pan-seared steak like the ones you get at a high-end steakhouse, but you got bills to pay and tiny rugrats running around who need shoes and want to go to college, so you decided to do it on your own. Well, steak night can be a smoky nightmare if you don't know what you're doing, but the steps are pretty easy. These are the common mistakes that are coming between you and a perfect pan-seared steak. It all starts with selecting the right cut. If you grabbed a flank steak, a skirt steak, or a beef chuck, stop. You're doing it wrong. What about a T-bone steak? You're getting warmer, but not quite. Save the T-bone for the grill. The best cuts for a pan-seared steak are boneless cuts like ribeyes or New York strips. And pay attention to thickness. You want them to be thick, but not too thick. 1 inch to 1.5 inches is perfect. It's also important to pay attention to marbling, or the way that fat is distributed throughout the steak. This is where all the juiciness and flavor comes from. If you choose a steak with subpar marbling or hardly any fat at all, then the final result is going to be more like chewing boot leather than you might like it to be. Yeah, that's appetizing. Only after you've signed up for one of those survival shows where people literally tune in to watch you starve to death. So now that you've got the right steak, we're ready to go, right? Wrong. Next comes the prep stage. Before you get to cooking, you need to bring the steak up to room temp. Set it on the counter for about 20 to 30 minutes before cooking it. This ensures that the surface and the center of the steak are at the same temperature. If you skip this step, you might end up with a steak that's perfectly seared on the outside, but not done enough on the inside. And as my old man used to say, if it's a thing worth doing, it's worth doing right, damn it. Somebody's gonna clean up the floor behind him, right? And hey, if you don't have time tonight, cook the steaks tomorrow. Make tonight's dinner, I don't know, a bowl of cereal or a pan of boxed macaroni. A perfect pan-seared steak takes patience, and it's worth it. Now once you've let it sit, pat it dry with paper towels. This will help maximize the Maillard reaction. Yeah, that's a fancy name for the chemical process of proteins and sugars being transformed by heat. It's what makes browned or charred foods taste and smell so interesting. And since it takes energy and time to evaporate any moisture that's on the surface of what you're cooking, you'll be speeding up the process by starting with dry meat. Lastly, you'll want to season the steak with salt and pepper. That would be on both sides. There you go. And don't be afraid to be generous, since a lot of it's going to come off in the pan while you're cooking. Next, it's time to choose the right skillet for the job. No, not that one. It's a little too light. Oh, he really threw the pan there. Yeah, now we're talking. When you're searing steak, it's best to use a heavyweight nonstick pan or the tried and true cast iron skillet like this little beauty. These can handle the high heat that's necessary for achieving a quality sear. Now we're ready to cook. But we're not ready to put the steak in yet. You want to do that when the pan is ripping hot. If you set the steak in now while the pan is still at room temperature, you're going to end up with a gray steak that has zero char and minimal flavor. Now, getting that pan hot first is what makes the Maillard reaction possible. When the pan starts to smoke a little, add a small amount of oil, preferably one with a high smoke point, such as canola or vegetable. Now, it's finally time to set your steak in the pan. Make sure to set the side closest to you down first so you don't accidentally splash yourself with oil. We're finally cooking, but hey, don't just walk away. You want to keep an eye on this thing, which means stay off your phone and pay attention to the steak. You can post the whole thing on Insta when you're done. A medium rare steak should be cooked until it's 120 degrees Fahrenheit in the center and 130 degrees for medium. A steak of this thickness should take around 2 minutes on each side to cook to medium. You can even flip it 3 times, searing each side in 1-minute intervals. Thick cuts can be on a slightly lower heat to make sure they cook enough, but don't drop the heat anywhere towards medium. You want that oil to smoke a little. High heat is essential for a quality sear and a nice firm crust. The trickiest part is getting the timing right, and that takes practice. You'll get a feel for it eventually, but it never hurts to use a meat thermometer to make sure you're on the mark. After you've achieved a quality sear on both sides of the steak, add a tablespoon of butter to the pan alongside a few cloves of fresh garlic and a sprig or 2 of fresh thyme. Don't just let it sit there though, bathing in blobs of brown, bubbling, burning butter. Yeah, say that 5 times fast. As the butter melts, tilt the pan and continuously spoon it over the steak. Keep doing this on both sides until it's done to your liking. And don't be afraid to fork some of those garlic cloves and rub them on the surface of the steak as well. By now, the kitchen should smell great. The steak looks done, it smells done, but you're not done. There's one final step, and it's important. Before you cut into the meat, you have to let the steak rest for 5 to 7 minutes. Don't touch it, it's still cooking. If you cut into it right away, you're not giving the juices an opportunity to distribute themselves evenly throughout the cut, which is essential both for presentation and that tender first bite. If you can pull this off, little Guy Fieri fairies will visit you in your dreams and sing your praises as the steak king. You know, if you're into that sort of thing. When the time is up, you've done it. You've pan-seared a perfect steak. And all it took was patience, preparation, and a really hot pan.